Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to Government House, Yarralumla. Dawa Nuna, Dawa Nunawel. I acknowledge the Nunawel people as the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather and recognise any other people or families with a connection to the ACT and region. I respect their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the life of this city and this region. And I also acknowledge and welcome other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders who may be with us this morning or watching online. My name is Paul Singer and I'm the Governor-General's Official Secretary. And as this badge signifies with its cross quills, I'm also the Secretary of the Order of Australia, the council which makes recommendations to the Governor-General, who is the Chancellor of the Order and the Principal Companion of the Order. And I'm also the Secretary of the Australian Bravery Decorations Council, the body which makes recommendations to the Governor-General for bravery awards. Before we start the ceremony this morning, I'd like to acknowledge among our distinguished guests, Commodore Grant O'Loughlin, representing the Chief of Navy, Lieutenant General Simon Stewart, Chief of Army, Air Vice Marshal Glenn Bradds, representing the Chief of Air Force, Ms Jo Talbot, representing the Australian Public Service Commissioner, and Dr William Maiden, representing the National President of the Order of Australia Association. Welcome all. The Australian Honours and Awards system provides a wonderful mechanism through which we as a nation can recognise ordinary people who do extraordinary things. Since its inception in 1975, almost 400,000 people have been recognised for their meritorious, bravery, military or national service. And the Order of Australia is the principal means of recognising outstanding service. And it's important to note that nominations come from all parts of the community. Anyone can nominate. Today is a special day, not only for the recipients, but also for their friends, their families and their communities. It's a day when we celebrate a diverse range of impressive achievements and service. And my colleagues and I here at Government House are privileged to play a small part in the recognition and celebration of that service, and we look forward to making this morning a day that you'll recall with pride for a long time to come. Shortly, I'll invite you to stand for the arrival of Her Excellencies the Governor-General and Mrs Hurley, and then please remain standing and join in the singing of the first verse of the Australian National Anthem. The investiture will then begin and proceed in the order listed in your program. After I read their names and citations, the recipients will enter from the doorway on my right, and after they've been invested by the Governor-General, they'll return to their seats via the central aisle, and it's at this point you might like to show your appreciation with a short applause. At the conclusion of the ceremony, the Governor-General will say a few words, and then I'll invite the recipients to join with Her Excellencies out on the state entrance stairs for the official photos. And after the photos, there'll be refreshments served, hopefully outside, to make the most of this wonderful morning. So, ladies and gentlemen, please relax and enjoy this very special occasion. Would you please stand, if you're able, for the arrival of Her Excellencies the Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia and Mrs Hurley, and for the singing of the first verse of the Australian National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is good by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated.
Good morning, and can I join in with Paul and others and a very warm welcome to Government House at Yarralumla this morning. Linda and I and the team here at Government House are delighted to be part of this very special day in the life of our recipients, members of their families, and of course our nation, as we recognise those who have made a significant contribution to our well-being, our national well-being and our international standing. Could I also join in the acknowledgement of country of the Ngunnawal people and other people and families with connection to the region. The Canberrans here will know how beautiful this part of the country is, with the Madji down south, the Rindabella, the Murrumbidgee, the Molonglo. We do thank the Ngunnawal and others for looking after it for us for generation after generation, and pay respects to their elders past and present, and mindful at the present time of our responsibility to the younger generation of Indigenous kids, because their future is critical to the future of our country. Could I bring us to our purpose of the day, which is to recognise those who have made significant contributions to our country. You'll notice that the day when you arrive, the garden has been well and truly tended beforehand. There's a lot of pomp and ceremony about the day. The military are all dressed up in their finest, so it should be. This is a very special day in the life of our country, and indeed this week and the other week of the year when we conduct investitures. For us at Government House, these are the highlights of the year, because we get graced by seeing such wonderful people who come through that door there to be recognised by their fellow Australians. The ceremony you'll see today will draw on people from a wide variety of professions and walks of life in Australia, for which their fellow citizens believe they merit recognition. That's an important aspect of our honours and awards system. I'm not quite sure if it's unique. I often say it is. I don't have any data to support that. But it's a really strong characteristic about our order of Australia that it is bottom up. What do I mean by that? Ours is not a system where elites in Canberra or any other capital city in the country look around and say, Bill, Bob, Jenny or Joe are doing a great job, I'm going to give them a medal. Every person in the general division who comes through this door, or similarly in any other government house in Australia, is only there because they are nominated by another Australian. Someone who saw their work and said that needs to be acknowledged. I want you to bear that in mind, because I'm going to give you some homework once we've completed the investiture part of the ceremony, and I'll assess your homework, or perhaps my successor will, when the person comes through that door in the future. To the families who are with us, I'm very cognizant that recipients cannot be in the position to be recognised without support from family and friends. So this day is very much your day as it is the recipients. I'm very grateful for what you do to allow them to contribute to our communities. So please share in the day fully. We're here to celebrate with you all. To the recipients, I know that 100% of the people who come through the door today will say, I don't deserve this, I don't do it for a medal, I just do it because I think it needs to be done. Well, that humility is commendable, but today I give you permission to boast. Not brag, but boast, because your nation is saying thank you to you. So please, enjoy the occasion, relax, enjoy the day. We're delighted to be able to share the occasion with you. And again, congratulations to our recipients on your wonderful achievements for our country, for our people. I'll now begin the formal investiture ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, to be presented with the insignia of her appointment as a member of the Order in the General Division, Ms. Marjorie Nicol, for significant service to the law and to the legal profession. Ms. Nicol has rendered extraordinary service to the Australian legal profession for over 4 decades. She's undertaken a variety of roles with the peak national body, the Law Council of Australia, including leading the Council's international work, and she's represented our legal profession in major international forums. She's also played an active role with the International Bar Association and has been a special counsellor for Australia with the Law Association of Asia and the Pacific for 15 years. She's been instrumental in ensuring strong legal relationships between our legal profession and organisations and countries across the globe. Her achievements have been inspirational, particularly to the next generation of women lawyers. Ms. Nicol's unwavering support, strategic advice and guidance have been of the highest order and have cemented Australia's reputation on the international stage in regard to legal policy, trade, human rights, and effective governance. Ms. Marjorie Nicol, appointed a member of the Order. Appointed a member of the Order in the Military Division, Brigadier Warren Gould, for exceptional service to the Australian Defence Forces Command and Control Framework as Director-General Joint Command and Control and Director-General Systems and Integration, Army. Brigadier Gould's leadership, innovation and foresight has directly enhanced capability within the Australian Defence Force. As Director-General Joint Command and Control, he was responsible for assuring the command and control framework for our Defence Force to operate effectively across the sea, land, air, cyber and space domains in a contested environment. His foresight and initiative enabled the establishment of robust warfighting networks and development of the application capability concept. In his current role, he has been key to the acquisition of preliminary platforms and equipment to support the long-range fire capability and self-propelled artillery systems, and has coordinated the remediation of the land domain battle management systems. Brigadier Gould's leadership, foresight and initiative have directly enhanced capability within the Australian Defence Force, and we recognise his efforts today. Brigadier Warren Gould, appointed a member of the Order. Awarded the Medal of the Order in the General Division, Mrs. Catherine Boehm and Mr. Leslie Boehm, for service to the community, particularly through the church. Mr. and Mrs. Boehm have been tireless and energetic volunteers in many aspects of the church life of St Paul's Anglican Church in Canberra. Both have been involved in a range of social justice initiatives, including the program for after-school studies, which assists young migrant students, and the Mission in Action Committee, which supports the work of Anglican Overseas Aid. In particular, their establishment of the Carpenters Kids program in Tanzania has raised significant funds to provide educational support for mostly primary school-aged children, including school supplies and uniforms and shoes. Mr. Boehm has been a dedicated disaster recovery volunteer for Anglicare, and Mrs. Boehm has recently been involved in a junior choir initiative at St Paul's. Mr. and Mrs. Boehm are stalwarts of the Canberra community, and they have given selflessly of themselves to help support others, and we recognise their service today. Mrs. Catherine Boehm, awarded the Medal of the Order. And Mr. Leslie Boehm, awarded the Medal of the Order. Awarded the Medal of the Order in the General Division, Dr. Fergus Gardner, for service to medicine. Dr. Gardner has shown deep commitment to the health and wellbeing of people in rural and remote areas of Australia. In his role as Director for Public Health for the Royal Flying Doctor Service, he's worked tirelessly in the areas of mental and physical health of people living in the bush. He's also undertaken a range of research collaborations investigating cardiovascular disease and diabetes, which have resulted in the RFDS receiving additional support to provide appropriate remote primary health care. During the COVID-19 pandemic, he was vital in coordinating the RFDS response. He was key to ensuring the supply of personal protective equipment for staff working in medical retrieval teams during a time of fear and apprehension in the community. Dr. Gardner's efforts and achievements have been of the highest order and most deserving of our recognition. Dr. Fergus Gardner awarded the Medal of the Order. Awarded the Medal of the Order in the General Division, Mrs. Leslie Johnson, for service to the community of Gunning. Mrs. Johnson has been an invaluable volunteer in the community of Gunning for over 60 years. She's been an active member of the Anglicare parish and continues to be involved in the ongoing life of the parish. She served in a range of roles, including as Parish Council President and as a council representative to the Diocesan Synod, as coordinator of the restoration of St Edmund's Church, and was involved in a rebuilding and refurbishment of the church hall. She is also well known in the community for contributions to the Gunning Show Society, as a Girl Guides District Commissioner, and as an organiser of the Senior Citizens Annual Christmas Dinner, to name but a few of her activities. Mrs. Johnson's service is beyond peer and inspires us all to give back to our community. Mrs. Leslie Johnson awarded the Medal of the Order. Awarded the Medal of the Order in the General Division, Mrs. Beverly Lay, for service to the community of Canberra. Mrs. Lay is an inspiring and generous member of the community of the Australian Capital Territory. She's been a volunteer with a range of local organisations for many years and has given unstintingly of her time. Her energies have benefited greatly her local Anglican church, where she designed the church's garden more than 20 years ago and which she maintains to this day. She's organised and coordinated a number of parishioner groups, including an English conversation group for migrants and refugees, and she also spends countless hours visiting elderly residents of nursing homes. Additionally, she's been an active member of progress clubs in the area and the Horticultural Society of Canberra. Mrs. Lay has an enduring willingness to help others in the community, and she is an exemplar to us all. Mrs. Beverly Lay awarded the Medal of the Order. Awarded the Medal of the Order in the General Division, Mrs. Nishi Puri, for service to the Indian community of Canberra. Mrs. Puri is the founder and president of the Multicultural Association of Canberra, which aims to include all multicultural communities in tackling problems such as racism, bullying, homelessness, mental health, and in providing assistance to international students living in Canberra. She's also president of the Global Organisation of People of Indian Origin. This organisation promotes Indian history and culture through events such as the Gandhi Oration and International Yoga Day, and the celebration of Indian festivals. She's also arranged information centres for culturally and linguistically diverse communities to help them to make informed choices when voting in local and federal elections. In 2020, her organisation helped international students and homeless people in Canberra during the COVID pandemic by providing food, clothing and blankets. Mrs. Puri epitomises the meaning of giving back to the community. Mrs. Nishi Puri awarded the Medal of the Order. Awarded the Medal of the Order in the Military Division, Lieutenant Commander Anthony McCann, for meritorious service in the field of naval aviation engineering. Lieutenant Commander McCann has been pivotal in the transition of Fleet Air Arm to the new Defence Aviation Safety Regulation framework. As Senior Engineering Trial Officer, he oversaw complex engineering functions to support aviation trials, and his input contributed to the operational availability and capability whilst improving the ongoing safety at the Flight Trials Unit. At 822X Squadron, he was involved in the successful coordination of the operating clearance for unmanned aircraft to be deployed from MV Sycamore and HMAS Ballarat. Lieutenant Commander McCann was also involved in the creation of a career pathway for aviation technicians that has been influential in improving the morale and retention of the next generation of Navy aviation specialists. Lieutenant Commander Anthony McCann awarded the Medal of the Order. We move now to the Conspicuous Service Decorations. Awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross, Lieutenant Colonel Benjamin Shepherd, for outstanding achievement as the Deputy Director Force Structure Plan Directorate, Force Design Division, and Staff Officer Grade 1 Army Objective Force, Future Land Warfare Branch, Army Headquarters. Lieutenant Colonel Shepherd's skill and expertise directly contributed to the success of the Force Structure Plan 2020 and the Army Force Structure Implementation Plan. He designed, coordinated actions and assembled experts from across Defence to identify funding offsets and develop options to address operational and strategic risk. He was key to the introduction of support mechanisms enabling Defence senior leaders to manage complexity and understand impacts when making force structure decisions. At the Army Objective Force, he evaluated strategic and operational demands, workforce capacity and joint requirements in the development of Army Force Structure Implementation Plan. Lieutenant Colonel Shepherd's achievements facilitated effective decision-making relating to the Australian Defence Force's transformation over the next decade. Lieutenant Colonel Benjamin Shepherd awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross. Awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross, Group Captain Ashley Howe, for outstanding achievement in leading and managing the acquisition of integrated air and missile defence capabilities for the Australian Defence Force. Group Captain Howe assumed the role of Project Director for the Joint Air Battle Management System project in August 2019. Since then, he successfully led and grown a small team of 12, initially responsible for one project, into an integrated program office of 160 members managing 4 interrelated integrated air and missile defence projects with a combined budget of approximately $35 billion. He successfully led the development of unique commercial and contractual arrangements and negotiated complex foreign military sales cases with the United States to support an export of technologies. Further, he was key to the establishment of the medium-range ground-based air defence project whilst working remotely during the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. Group Captain Howe has made an outstanding contribution to Defence's future and world-leading integrated air and missile defence acquisition program. Group Captain Ashley Howe awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross. Awarded the Conspicuous Service Medal, Commander Gary Page, for devotion to duty in training and education delivery for the Australian Defence Force. Commander Page was appointed the Deputy Director Education and Training at the Australian Defence Force Academy in June 2020. Applying his extensive military and civilian experience, he identified and mitigated significant training delivery risk to maintain training at the Academy that emerged during the COVID-19 pandemic. His insight and experience informed the rapid transition to online delivery mode for training, which led to student progression and graduation rates in 2020 and 2021 exceeding the 10-year average. He also applied his education design and development knowledge to drive major improvements in the Capability Technology Management College program. Commander Page has displayed insight and empathy for students and staff and has built a more sustainable program to educate Defence's next generation of capability management professionals. Commander Gary Page awarded the Conspicuous Service Medal. We move now to the Meritorious Service Awards. Awarded the Public Service Medal, Ms. Margaret McManus, for outstanding public service to public health as the nursing lead for the ACT COVID at Home program. Ms. McManus was key to the introduction of the ACT government's COVID at Home program. The program was developed quickly to support Canberrans with COVID-19 to receive care at home and to monitor disease progression, particularly for those at high risk. She recruited, trained and managed the nursing and general practitioner team, developed protocols and procedures, and worked closely with a range of stakeholders to develop the care pathways required. She often had to work against the odds of uncertainty, surges in demand, technology challenges, anxiety and fear in the community. The program enabled patients to be treated in their own homes, thereby reducing the demand on emergency departments and preventing severe disease outbreak. Ms. McManus continues to lead the program, which is being transitioned to a permanent virtual care service in the ACT. Ms. Margaret McManus awarded the Public Service Medal. awarded the Public Service Medal, Ms. Melissa Ryan, for outstanding public service through leadership and implementation of complex reform and policies to assist vulnerable Australians. Ms. Ryan has held senior roles across a range of Commonwealth departments over the last 30 years. Notably, she has designed and implemented major reforms across a broad range of public policy issues, including childcare and employment services. She led the implementation of the $5.9 billion Workforce Australia program to assist the community in securing employment and provided significant input into the new childcare subsidy, which assisted over 1 million families to meet the cost of childcare. She was also instrumental in the successful reform of employment services and the transition of around 800,000 job seekers into Workforce Australia. Ms. Ryan has led significant complex reforms, programs and policies that have contributed to improving the lives of many Australians. Ms. Melissa Ryan, awarded the Public Service Medal. Awarded the Public Service Medal, Dr. Andrew Stevenson, for outstanding public service through leadership and stewardship of Australia's astronomy capability. Dr. Stevenson has led the negotiations and management of the European Southern Observatory Strategic Partnership, a $129 million investment over 10 years by the Australian Government. He has tirelessly stewarded Australia's astronomy capability through major changes in governance, funding and legislative frameworks, and ensured that Australian astronomers have access to world-leading infrastructure. He has provided an extensive contribution to policy development, which has not only previously saved the Australian Astronomical Observatory as well as jobs, but ultimately allowed the Australian astronomy community to grow and mature into one of the branches of astronomy in which our research leads the world. Dr. Stevenson, through his efforts and achievements, has benefited Australian society as well as the global astronomy community. Dr. Andrew Stevenson, awarded the Public Service Medal. Awarded the Public Service Medal, Mr. Howard Wren, for outstanding public service to public health and leading the ACT ambulance service through the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Wren, in his position as the Chief Executive Officer of the ACT Ambulance Service, was a vital part of the ACT Emergency Service Agency's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. From a declaration of a health emergency in March 2020 through to the conclusion of the ACT lockdown in November 2021, he was responsible for leading the ambulance service through the most challenging time in recent history. Through his direct actions, our ambulance service was able to sustain business as usual operations and maintain emergency response times and the health and well-being of the workforce. Mr. Wren's professional leadership, combined with his dedication to keeping the community safe, has ensured the ACT ambulance service continues to be one of the best performing ambulance services in Australia. Mr. Howard Wren, awarded the Public Service Medal. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the presentations this morning.
We've acknowledged each of our recipients individually. I think it'd be appropriate now to acknowledge them as a group. Congratulations to you all. Well done. I'm often asked about my little comments, maybe not little, my comments that you can't hear to each of the recipients, and why can't you hear them? In the entire process, from nomination till today, that is the only time I have with the recipients privately. And I am selfish about that time. So they may divulge what I said to them, but it's more in the line of how I have responded to what I've seen them do. And it's just a great delight to have that few moments to express my thanks to them. And thank them we should. And that's part of your homework. You've seen, particularly in the general division, the range of activities that members of the community are acknowledged for. You know who those other similar people are back in your community. So please go back and think about, does their service merit recognition? And if it does, please nominate. That is your homework. As I said, I assess or mark the homework as they come through that door a year or so on. But please do this. Bearing in mind a couple of things. We've reached gender parity in awards across the last two lists we put out, so 50-50, roughly male, female. We are still underrepresented in Indigenous community in Australia and in the multicultural community. So we're, again, working hard to ensure we lift that representation up. The Order of Australia should reflect who we are as Australia today. It's important that we do that. So please, go back, consider your homework, and if you know someone out there you think should be considered, please nominate. And Paul will tell you how to do that in a moment. Could I again thank families sincerely for your contribution. I'll often say privately with little groups out there when we meet later on that you got your bling today about time you took someone shopping, to thank them for their contribution and enabling you to get the job done. So thank you sincerely for what you've provided. And again, to our recipients, congratulations. Australia's been enormously proud of what you contributed, and today is a day where we get to celebrate that. So congratulations, and we look forward to catching up with you in a few moments.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Well, ladies and gentlemen, to assist with the homework that the Governor-General has set, I do encourage you to access the online nomination form, which is available on the Governor-General's website at www.gg.gov.au. As the Governor-General has said, it's a relatively straightforward process, and we look forward to welcoming those that have been successful through that process to an investiture such as this in the future. I now invite the recipients to join with Her Excellencies on the state entrance stairs for an official photo. Would you please stand for the departure of Her Excellencies the Governor-General, Mrs. Hurley, and the recipients.